everybody. This is your boy Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And Ren, the Berserker Marabou. And this is...
SAGAS!
Woo! Welcome. Happy days.
Nice, how you been?
Not too... Yeah, grand. I've been a little sick, but I've been grand. Sure, what can you do? What can you do when you live in a stew, huh?
That leprechaun saying is back. Well, since it's your album, do you want to describe what album we're talking about?
Well, this week I picked one of my all-time favorite bands and probably my favorite album of theirs, Mastodon's 2004 album, which I can't believe it's 2004, man. Time just flies. Leviathan. This is just, for me, it's pretty flawless. Like, it's just one of those albums that musically, as a musician, changed my whole idea of music. You know, I just it was around the early 2000s where nu metal was really, really big. It was taken over, and these boys were like, nah, we're not going down that route, which I have nothing wrong. I have no problem with nu metal. I enjoy it quite a bit. But it just, during the time frame, these boys weren't feeling that, and they went into some, I don't know, parallel universe of metal. You know, they created this absolute madness, and they haven't stopped ever since. I think the other thing I love about this band is how they met. They were, some of the boys are from Atlanta. I think Troy's from Atlanta anyway. The front man, you call him, but they're all singer frontmen in this band now. But they all, anyway, long story short, they all met at a High on Fire gig in Atlanta, and they all just kind of met each other, started discussing how, you know, they wanted to do this band, and they had these ideas, and they were like, why don't we do this? You know, because the guys were in a couple of different bands at the time. I think Bill, the guitarist Bill, was in a band called Today Is the Day, and that's where the guys saw him playing and stuff, and were like, right, we've got to get this going. But what a bad name for a band. Today Is the Day. I always laughed at that one. But I can't talk of, I'm in terrible band names myself. But the cool thing was, meeting at the High on Fire gig, and what makes that story even better, even cooler, not cool, because, you know, alcoholism isn't cool, kids, but like, Brent, at their first rehearsal, Brent was too drunk to even practice or play his guitar. So, but the boys knew he was that talented, and he's such an amazing guitar player that they gave him another chance, and he came back and blew the lid off it, you know, like. So, it's a really interesting kind of coming together story of the band. But 2004. To me, this is their third album, but it's their second album, really. Their first album kind of got brushed to the side. It was a Life's Blood, and there was another EP, and they combined that together and made I can't remember, Return of the Mastodon or something of the Mastodon came out after this album as like a re-release. But I still think of all those songs from Life's Blood as like a previous album to this, and Remissions, which was before that again. So the band really, really came in on their own sound and created this, what we understand as Mastodon, in 2004. And I can't believe it's that long ago, man. You know, it's just this flown in, and, you know, I don't know. I was reluctant to do a podcast on this band because I love them so much. And, you know, with the end segment of the show where you have to talk about an element or an aspect or a song that we don't particularly like, I was like, I don't know if I'm physically going to be able to let anything come out of my mouth about this band that isn't just pure worship. But, you know, I tried my best to I might say a few things later on, but I don't know if I'll be able to. But so, yeah, this album came out on Relapse Records. I love the concept. What do you like? Do you like the concept, like Moby Dick?
Yeah, I just saw that as I was researching. is very, yeah, the first conceptual album about Moby Dick. Very cool. And I also like how apparently this is their water album in the elements, the water, but which is, I think, when you think of water, and I think, I'll start off with this. When I first listened to this album, I was walking my dog and I decided to get drunk during the day. Why not? I was like, I got a day off work, may as well have fun. So I got drunk and I was listening to this album. And so here's the deal. Normally, well, from my experience, when you're intoxicated and you listen to an album, it amplifies it. It's just, I don't know why. You're in the mood, you feel good. And for the really good albums, the rare handful of albums like Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd or certain albums like that, when you listen to it as a kid, it just sends it skyrocketing. And for me, when I was listening to this album, before even knowing that they called it the Water album, I did feel that. I felt somehow this felt like a relaxing prog metal album, but not relaxing in the sense of like weak or calm or boring. It just felt very smooth, but yet also simultaneously heavy. I don't really know how to describe it. I guess Tool, if they made sludge metal, if Tool's calmness and not calm, Tool's aura combined with sludge and like prog metal elements. I mean, they are prog, but sludge metal like elements, stoner metal elements put together made for what this sounds like. It's hard to describe, but yeah, I remember being real mellow and real relaxed, and I was like, oh shit, this is a great album. Like, yeah.
I think it's the musicianship of these boys. Like every individual in this band brings something absolutely incredible. I mean, just the constant drum fills, like it's a very, very heavy drum filled album, like every Mastodon album is. And if I was to hear another drummer do this, and I've played with a few guys that have done this over the years, and it gets overbearing. But what Brand does, Brand Daler, he just incorporates all these lovely genres together. Like he's a very eclectic music taste. And we've seen him on that What's in the Bag the other day. And yeah, like gnarly music that you wouldn't expect him to be listening to. But he's very much influenced with jazz and progressive rock, obviously. It's just, very complex drum beats and fills that I don't even know how. I'm listening to their band for like 20 years and I still can't understand how he's able to do this. Like studied, and I've spoken to many a drummer over the years, and it's just, I don't know, it's his rhythmic structures in his brain are from another planet. They're from another world. Like he just, so I think because it's like a constant of this, like drums are just progressing throughout the track. It does gives it, I don't know, it makes it relaxing. It was just strange, because it's like, I don't know. And then he has his breaks, his moments where he plays a little bit straight up, more so nowadays than on this album. But you get those little bits, and it's like the opposite of what you hear on every other band. Every other band, the drummer's playing straight up, and then they'll do something complex. But for him, it's the complete opposite. And I don't know. I think that might add to it, and just they make the guitars, as cliche as it sounds, they make the guitars sing. Like they do a lot of chord progressions where they're plucking the like open strings and they let them drone on a little bit. I heard something really, really interesting. Somebody saying they're like melodic droning melodies or something like that. I was like, that's actually makes a lot of sense because they have the doom, sludge, stoner kind of rock stuff with all the big chuggy riffs and detuned. But then there's just this lovely melody and stuff inside of it. It's just unbelievable. Like, I mean, talking about Brand's drums, he's playing in the rhythm and out of the rhythm. He's he's one with the rhythm, but he's like an enemy of the rhythm all at once. It's like this absolute brain mess up. But yeah, so I think when you're listening to this band, they're all together so amazingly impressive, and they're so conscientious of melody and time signatures that it can only be pleasurable to listen to. You know what I mean? It's not going to be harsh because it is just very, very musical. You know what I mean? But that's what I think about your anecdote about you having a few drinks, listening to them. You know, that's what I think it might be. You know.
Well, this is why, as I said a few episodes ago, the beauty of this podcast is we can talk about. We have two very different perspectives. You talk all the detailed instrument shit, which I know nothing about, and I'm sure some of the fans listening are just like me. And then there are some like you who are experts in it, and they understand what you're talking about. But something that I found really, really interesting now that you say, how this is one of your favorite bands and albums, and you were, one of your inspirations. First thing I want to bring up, in 2 years' time, this album will be 20 years old.
Oh man, it's so
I'm saying. But the real thing I wanted to bring up is, for me, the song Sea Beast, track 3, literally sounds like you on the vocals.
No way.
And I'm like, this sounds like Ren is talking. I was like, I definitely see his inspiration. This is, but before I close up, the other thing I want to bring up is when I was listening to the drums, because they're very prominent and they stand out a lot in the album, as you said. And to me, it really reminded me of Led Zeppelin's John Bonham. Like, he was really underrated for us. And if you go back and listen to, especially the first 4 Led Zeppelin albums, 1 to B, IV, it's like, exactly like, the complex style throughout the album, and then small breaks of traditional style. It's very complex. It's very unique for John to do that. But he did that style. So it's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, John Bonham would be one of my all-time favorite drummers as well. Like, I could talk about him till till the cows come home kind of thing. But it's interesting that you bring up Zeppelin, because the Mastodon's manager only died recently, and it was they were very close to him. His name was Nick John, and he was basically the band's father in a way, or dad. They called him the band dad. And it was very sad when he died. But as a tribute, the guys actually done a really, really nice, beautiful, sad and heartbreaking version of Stairway to Heaven. And Braun, the drummer, actually, since this album has really come on as a singer in his own right. And he done the vocals for the whole song for Stairway. And I tell you, ever since Wayne's World, the movie, Stairway is like the forbidden song. You're not allowed to play it. You can't play it in a record store. You can't play it because it's kind of like almost, yes, the forbidden song. But Mastodon doing their version and recording it, they played it at the funeral, as far as I know. And they done somebody recorded it and said, you need to go into the studio and do this. And it's absolutely beautiful. It just goes to show how good these guys are, and how good they are at sounding good, not just playing well, but sounding good. They know all the intricacies, all the tricks of the trade that Zeppelin would have gotten from the devil, or whatever way they sold their souls and stuff like that. So anyway, it was a lovely tribute. I digress. That's a segue little section there that you made me think of. But yeah, man, like I said, I was lucky enough to see Mastodon several times live, and like we said, they were a huge inspiration on me. The first time I saw them, I think it was we discussed this tour before. It was the Unholy Alliance. I think it was who were we chatting about? Oh, In Flames. They played the same Holy Alliance with In Flames and Slayer and Lamb of God, and it was absolutely amazing. But then I got to see them in a smaller venue, and then a bigger venue again, 3 Arena in Dublin. And every single time I've seen these boys play, it just blew my mind. How they can play the stuff that they're playing. And now you see them, and people think that they're less complex now, but that's how complex they've gotten, because it's so complex that it's so subtle you wouldn't even know that they're actually playing something mega difficult. You know, they just really perfected the art of making complex music sound nice. You know, they're big Rush fans as well, and Tin Lizzy actually. And the interesting thing is, Troy, the bass player, he's touring now with Tin Lizzy. They're bringing it back, and two of the old boys from Tin Lizzy and Troy's playing bass with them, and that was one of the big influences of their, you know, together as a band. They have a couple of influences. Neurosis is one of them. They're the ones that really got them kick-started, and the singer from Neurosis actually is on track number 8, Aqua Dementia. He does a cameo vocal line and that type thing. But there's another, speaking of which, there's Blood and Thunder, Niall Fallon from Clutch. He sings on that one too. So there's a couple of guesty vocalists on this, and I think it was Blood Mountain, the next album. They had Josh Homme from Queens of Stone Age. And speaking of guest vocalists, it's really funny because Bron is always joking now that people are asking him to do vocals on tracks and not drums. And you think of what an amazing drummer he is. And then people, like even Josh Homme, asked him to sing on a Queens of Stone Age instead of the other way around. Like it's just mad, like, you know. Anyway, but yeah, before I get into the tracks, you know, like I don't know, have you ever come across any Mastodon songs in video games?
I did read about that today, and
yeah,
I would have, but see, actually, that's I probably did it unconsciously without knowing who Mastodon was. But
yeah,
but the epic moment I read about in my study for today is apparently their song Island was featured in Monsters Inc. University, the sequel, the prequel to Monsters Inc.
No way.
Have you seen that movie?
Monsters. I might have seen bits and pieces.
The new one where they're young, and you saw how they met.
I can't remember right now, but maybe I didn't.
One of the best movies ever. But anyway, in the scene in the kids movie, there's a scene where this mom is waiting in a van for the kids, and when they get back to her, you can see her blasting heavy metal through the radio, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just listening to my tunes." And apparently, the song "Island" was the song that she was listening to, which I only found out today. So I love that movie. I've watched it tons of times, but I didn't know that was a song.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. So
no, I was going to say that's amazing because out of all the songs in this album, lyrically, that's my favorite one because it's about Norse mythology. The song it's called Island, but then there's a squiggle, so everybody thinks that it might mean Iceland. And in the song, they talk about Odin and the Hammer of Thor, and it's just really cool. Like, you know, musically, it wouldn't have. It got pegged at the post for my favorite, but lyrically, I would have said that it's definitely one of my favorite lyrical songs of all Mastodon songs. I really love it. But the production is incredible as well. I think that's a big part of the listening experience of this album. And I think the previous album and the next album was the same chap as well. His name is Matt Bales. He was the producer, but he has worked with so many amazing bands. Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Norma Jean, Botch. So, like, you know, they're in safe hands there, you know. And I think for this album, this was the last Relapse Records album that they done. I think they went on to Warner or somebody else bigger again after this. But yeah, no, what an amazing, like, imagine being in a room with a man that worked with Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and then you're in a room with all these Mastodon guys, and it's just outrageous. Like, speaking of Neurosis earlier, the Neurosis singer and the drummer Bron were actually quite close at one stage. Well, they still are, I'd say, but at the starting stages of the band, and they were on the same scene. But they rang because they had so much love and respect for Neurosis, so they asked the singer Scott Kelly, "What do you think of the name Mastodon? Do you like it? Do you think it's a good name?" And he was like, "Yeah, let me just ask my son." His son was only a kid, and he asked his son, and he goes, "Mastodon." good band name? And the kid goes, yeah. And he was like, yeah, it's cool. So they went with that because he thought it was cool. Like, it's so awesome. But they're really funny guys as well. They've lovely characters about them too. Do you ever see them joking around and stuff? And on red carpets, there was a Grammy Awards. They were up for an award, and Brent turns up in like a full baseball outfit, like he was a player, and Braun was in like what he called his birthday suit, which is a suit with loads of balloons all over. So they have a real nice. Then they're grounded and they're I don't know. They just seem like really nice guys. I played a. They were playing in Dublin one time in the Ambassador. Yeah, it was the Ambassador in Dublin, and we played the after show party in my band I was in at the time called Kerouac, and my friends had bumped into Brent down the road, and I wasn't gonna bring up this story, but I felt like I was like, no, do you know what? I never got that call out me mates on this. They bumped into Brent earlier that day in another bar, and then we all went to see them play in the Ambassador, and we were then going up the road to play the after show party, which was a great night. And I was really hoping that Brent would have, or the boys would have come up to us. But my friends decided to not remember to tell Brent that there was an after show party up the road that come down and hang out. I was absolutely raging with my friends. I'm not going to name names, but if you're listening to this, I still don't forgive you. I love you, but I don't forgive you. Yeah, so that was I was this close, you know what I mean? I was hoping to be on stage and look down and see Brent there, but because he likes hanging out and stuff, he's just really cool, down to earth. But so come here. What about the artwork, bro? What do you think about the artwork?
Yeah, well, I found out there was two different types of artwork. One for like a limited edition. So if we're just talking about the normal artwork, I think it's pretty badass. I mean, you got, a massive white whale destroying the ship. It's like, and then you got the, like I like how arty it is. You got the background, the red and the colors of the dark colors at the top, and then you have, that real dark blue of the ocean. And it's kind of cool. Like, I like how you can see the top of the whale and a little bit of the bottom coming out of the ocean.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like I don't know, it's a cool little, instead of just cropping that out and having just the head, you can see it come out. I think that's a cool little small detail, but yeah, it's real artsy and real, something I can imagine being posted, being hung up at like a Roman museum or something, like an ancient museum for like, real ancient paintings. This is what I can imagine, stuff like this. But no, it's real badass.
I mean, it's amazing. Like they had the same artist, Paul Romano, for quite some years, and he would make the artwork on the album. He put so much detail into it so that when they went on tour, that they'd have it as a big backdrop. So every tour they'd have the album art as their backdrop. And Paul Romano is absolutely insane. And like you said, there's like two different versions. One's like just a bigger version where you can see the bottom of the whale. It's absolutely epic. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is that there's a really, and you're gonna love the name of this place. There's an Irish artist. He calls himself Serpent Tusk. So it's kind of a mixture between Serpent Tongue and Iron Tusk from Mastodon's record. I think that's probably where he got his name from. But he's doing really well. I wanted to give him a shout out because he's a really cool guy, and he's either done or he was meant to do recently some artwork for Mastodon. So if anybody wants to check out Serpent Tusk, he does work for bands that aren't as big as Mastodon, all the way down to the bottom, all the way up to the top, So yeah, definitely somebody to give a shout out. I have a look see. But yeah, man, just the artwork of Mastodon has always been something that inspired me as well. Straight off the bat, if it's probably not as important nowadays. Maybe it is, but in my day, you'd be going into the record shops, and you wouldn't have heard it on the internet. You wouldn't have, it would have been just you and a rake of CDs or vinyl or tapes, and the artwork was the first thing you saw. And if the artwork triggered something in you, you were like, oh, this looks badass. I'm gonna buy this, you know. And that's precisely what happened with me with this album. I remember I went into an old HMV shop. I was like, what is this amazing artwork? What is going on here? It's just so, this it is so richly entwined with mythology as well. Like Mastodon, that you find out later on that their whole thing is that they love everything that's big and ancient and mythological. And but yeah, to see that and then to find out that it's about Moby Dick, the whole Captain Abraham, or not Abraham, Ahab story. There's what's the track number 2? I Am Ahab. And I love the story of Moby Dick because it's like this Captain Ahab is obsessed with catching this whale, because it bit his leg off, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, man. I'm gonna get you." So yeah, I've always loved that story, and to turn that into an album with such ferociousness about it, it's pure epic. This I tried. Do you know what? I was writing a couple of footnotes, and I was like, "Don't say epic, because if I say epic, I'm just gonna keep saying epic." This is the most epic album that's ever epic any epic epicness. It's just it's outrageous. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I could literally waffle and waffle. I'm probably not really gluing this together for the listener, but I get too excited when I talk about Mastodon. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of people worked on this album. There's a lovely celloist called Phil Peterson that worked on Aqua Dementia, which it's just absolutely magical. But there's there's a controversial kind of song here as well. Brent one time, and sometimes because he's such a joker, you kind of don't know whether to believe the information or not. But he did say once in an interview that Naked Burn is a song about child abuse, which it was just like, what? I couldn't believe that. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds very on Mastodon like. But I did hear that he won't play it live because when he wrote it, he hates it. It pisses him off, so he doesn't want to play it. I just thought that was a very strange, I don't know, strange aspect of a Mastodon album anyway. But they had 4 singles off this album. I Am Ahab, that I was just chatting about, Iron Tusk, Blood and Thunder, and Sea Beast. So I mean, probably the 4 best singles of any album ever. Like, how can you have that many amazing songs on one album? Like, it's just outrageous. Like, but did you hear about the Elephant Man with Mastodon? No, there's 3 songs. Do you ever hear about the Elephant Man? The Elephant Man is this man that was born with a disfigurement. His skull. Yeah. So his name was Joseph Merrick, and they have the very last track in the album here is about Joseph Merrick, and the very last song on Remissions, and I think a track on Life's Blood, I think, was Pendulum Skin, which is the disease he had, and that's the name of one of the songs. And I think one of the tracks was on Remissions was called Elephant Man. So there was this theme of having like the last track on all their albums, instrumental, but instrumentally written about this guy and his elephant condition. But it's just another weird. There's so many intricacies and depth inside this album. Like, it's just unbelievable. Like, it won so many awards as well, didn't it? Like, 2004, they won an award. Metal Storm. I think they got Best Album of the Year with Metal Hammer or somebody like that as well. And your jazzes, they're unreal.
I was going to say something I found interesting is how 2009 and 2015 Metal Sucks, which is a great name, I guess, for a publication, Metal Sucks, named this album the best metal album of the 21st century.
Yeah.
So look, it's interesting because also Rock Hard ranked at 9th of a list of 15 for most important prog metal albums, which I was trying to find the list before we were live. The other 14 albums they chose, it was 9th, so it wasn't first. But yeah, because it's always the case. I feel it's like when you listen to an album for the first time, especially not knowing anything about the band prior, sometimes it takes a bit to. For example, it will take me a lot of listens to get to where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mastodon,
like 20 years, like.
It's actually interesting because secretly I was having this moment way back when we were doing the Cradle of Filth episode.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with them, and you were giving your like harsh opinions on them, but I was like,
I know.
Yeah, it was funny, and I was like, because this is coming from a perspective of not a diehard Cradle fan. This is your first time listening, so for me, obviously, I don't have the same admiration as you do yet. But the one thing I found interesting is on the song Megalodon, the start of it, maybe it's because I was drunk, but the start of it really made me laugh because it has this weird country inspired riff. It sounded like a country, like a redneck tune to me. And I was like, that's hilarious. That's a hilarious thing to put in. What track was it? On like 6, halfway through the album, or more than halfway, you just add this random country tune to it. So I found that really funny. And but yeah, so it's just really cool how it got all these accolades. And I'm not saying it's not deserving or it is deserving. I'm just saying it's interesting that that it got such critically acclaim that 2 publications are giving it such high acclaim. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny you talk about a Megalodon. That song, it's even the concept behind the lyrics. It's just a crazy tune. The song is about mermaids, right? But it's not about mermaids that we all know, the nice ones that come and help you. It's about the evil Fiji mermaids that are like made out of like, I don't know, some kind of like big bone monster type things. I don't know what kind of way they described it like. But yeah, that's like a technical masterpiece, like the song, oh dude, it's just there's outrageous riffs in it. It's like as if they got the evil Fiji mermaids to write these riffs because they're just outrageous. But then there's that really cool southern, like you were saying, country southern riff just drops in out of nowhere. And do you know what? That was a really smart move because I think that really spawned an awful lot of where they are now musically. The fact that because they don't like calling themselves, I don't think we've even said what we normally do on the podcast is we'll describe a band from the way they're described, like they're progressive, they're this, they're that. We haven't actually done that with these guys so much because you can't really pin them down. And a lot of people just say they're American heavy metal because, putting them in any category really doesn't make any sense. And they don't really like doing that themselves even because they love everything. And the cool thing about these guys is they're heavy as heavy can be, but they're so into rock and roll and country and blues and everything, jazz. It's a lovely, what would you say, amalgamation of all their tastes in music. But this brings me on to the evolution of the band because we're talking about this album, but there's so much to talk about with Mastodon. We could actually have a full podcast every week talking about Mastodon because there's just so much. The way they've evolved from Remissions, everybody talks about Remission, but I think from Life's Blood even earlier because there was quite a jump in style then even. Up as far as The Hunter and Blood Mountain. It's just unreal. You listen to them now and they all the clean vocals that they have now from Braun and Brent actually in this album I think might have found his singing voice. It's funny you said one of the tracks it sounded like kind of like my sort of style. Sea Beast. Brent actually discovered this kind of like Ozzy Osbourne style vocals. You know, this kind of like you either like it or you don't like it, kind of like harsh, clean voice. Um, it's just but it's after coming on obviously in the last 20 years. It's after coming on so much, and they now have three world-class singers in the band. It's like it's just not on. Like Bill, the guitarist, everybody's always asking, why don't you sing? He's like, why would I? What's the point, man? We have three amazing singers with very unique, different voices. And I always think if Bill was to sing, they're literally the only difference from them having uh like a I don't know. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say like a boy band. No, like then obviously they're not like a boy band, but you know what? There's say four guys singing in a band and they all have their own unique voice and they're all their own parts. It's just these guys are playing amazing music around it. Like it's so mad because you think about Life's Blood and you think about what they're doing now. It's just a huge evolution of sound, and it's completely commendable. Like their album Emperor of Sand and their new album, I think, only came out last year, Hushed and Grim. It's just I don't know. You wouldn't say poppy, but in comparison to Life's Blood and Remissions and even Leviathan now, they have evolved, and that's what's amazing about this band, that they're not afraid to just express themselves musically and just continue to evolve and grow as players, and just playing what they want to play because what they want to hear. You know, that's what I love about these guys. And that's why they'll always be like one of the main inspirations for everything. But like I said at the start, the drone and melody or drone and harmony is the way I'd like to look at it. They've drone and melody simultaneously, you know, in their tracks. You know what I mean? It's just it's probably because they tune down to drop A, so they're way low. So when they hit that top string, it gives that lovely drone, but then they're playing all this very musical kind of licks underneath it with the open strings, like it was saying. But it's funny that list, you know, what did you say? They only came ninth or something on a
15 most important progressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mastodon are probably the best thing to happen to heavy music ever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you couldn't ask for more. And do you know what? As soon as you get more into this band, we can do later on, like down the road, we'll do it. Maybe one of their newer albums, because I actually haven't listened to the newer albums as intently. I think it was after Blood Mountain, I started going a different direction musically. But I mean, they you know, they have amazing riffs, they have amazing drums, they have amazing presence, and they seem to be really good, solid characters as people, which isn't important in an album perspective, but as a fan, it is quite important. They've toured with absolutely everybody. Sure, did you ever see them on Letterman? No. They done one of their recent tours. They were promoting their album, the new album, and Brent, like, remember I was saying they dress funky sometimes. He had a 70s disco outfit on Letterman with a big brown afro and a pair of shades, and I was like, do you know what, these boys, they're on Letterman, like, do you know what I mean? You think you'd make an effort to look pristine, but they're like, nah, we're just having the crack, you know, we're just enjoying our career, enjoying the music. And I don't know, it's inspirational, like, but yeah, I don't know, I'd like to talk a little bit about some songs now, in depth, perhaps. What do you think of Blood and Thunder, anyway?
Blood and Thunder.
That's the first track.
Okay. So, actually, funny enough, I wrote about that, and it kind of reminded me of like early, like the first thing that came to my head was like early style Pantera in a way. The vocal style was like Cowboys in Hell backwards.
Yeah.
Pantera, like before Phil found his real pissed off sound.
Yeah.
That was really interesting, and the real like as I said before, prog / sludge elements. It was really interesting. Yeah, it was a good combination of production and instrumentation, and the vocals were real nice. Not too aggressive, which was good, because it's not every band needs to be overly Pantera or Nails aggressive. You just need to be, find your own thing, find your own rhythm, your own tune. And I think on that track they did it well.
Yeah, man, that opening riff. Imagine opening up an album with that. Dun, 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 dun. It's just one of the most amazing and of epic proportions. To have as there's a lot of bands out there that wouldn't write as memorable a riff as that, and that's the opening riff to an album that is absolutely just, there's riffs like this all through the album, memorable albums, iconic riffs, that people would only dream about writing, and it's littered all over this album. The lyrics, do you know what it was? I'll be honest. I've listened to this album since it came out, and I always thought that Troy done the real standout lyrics in that song. Split your lungs with blood and thunder. They're amazing. Really, really awesome vocals. I think it's because in the music video they didn't have their guest vocalist in the video, so Troy does the vocals in the video. So I think that's where he got misled. But it's actually the singer from Clutch, Niall. And I'm super impressed because for 18 years or something, I've been listening to that, going, that's amazing, Troy. And it wasn't Troy even. But speaking of Troy, Troy's the bass player and he's his vocalist. Kind of like the front man because he has a really cool persona about him. His brother is actually a famous bass player as well. His name is Kyle. And he's actually playing in Hell Yeah now. He was playing in a band. I don't know if you know them. They were called Blood Simple. They're like they're done all right. They don't quite well, but now he's playing in Hell Yeah. So the two boys are both endorsed by Orange guitar amps or bass amps. So they do all these really cool videos. The two of them, the Bass Brothers, they call themselves, and they're just these two cool, funny, kind of real dry sense of humor kind of thing. And they're showing off the gear, but they're showing it off in their own, funny kind of style. But I think that's really interesting that two famous brothers playing bass and famous rock bands, like, it's unreal. But yeah, so that opening riff straight off the bat, you're just like, dude, that's incredible. And then they have I Am Ahab as the single. There's just this lovely shuffle riff kind of thing that only Mastodon really are able to do. Like it sounds like, I don't know, maybe it's to do with the drumming, because Bron, when he accredits his drumming style to learning not off a bass player. Normally with the whole rhythm section, they learn off each other or they bounce off each other. He always worked off the guitar player, which I find which I think that might be why his drums sound more melodic or something. And there's a lot over excessive amounts of accents while he's playing. But anyway, there's a just unbelievable amount of dual guitars and amazing licks and it's just stupid. Like it's just so good. Like I was so happy to be listening to this again. I spent a lot of time with it over the years, but I hadn't listened to it in quite a while. But it was just really nice to go back and listen to an album that really inspired, and to be able to put it, when I went to see them live, the couple of times I saw them live, and not be even in the slightest disappointed. They excelled, and they were, I tell you, I've seen a lot of amazing live bands, and these boys were flawless. I remember seeing them in the Ambassador in Dublin, and Brent didn't want to get off the stage. He was having so much fun, and all the boys were like, he just kept playing or something. I can't really remember exactly. He was like, come on, we do an encore. And the boys were like, no, because they've all got families and kids, and they're a bit more grounded, where Brent's like the wild man. But Brent was like, nah. Actually, speaking of which, the first couple of years, I think it was 5 years, Brent was living out of his van of Mastodon. So like he was just this cool guy living in a van down the street, like it's the epitome of rock and roll is Brent Hines, with his tattoo on his head and his absolutely incredible technical ability. But yeah, so I don't know, bro. Where should we segue to now?
I was going to say, just before it gets too late into the episode, I was thinking of doing, sponsorships and shout outs and all that.
That's what I was feeling, yeah.
So if you want to go first.
Today I would like to sponsor Mastodon. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, Skull Strings have been doing an awful lot of great stuff for our band in recent times. So I feel like maybe I need to give them another shout out. They've just announced our bass player Cass from Ram Marbu and Berserkers. They've just announced and released his signature bass strings. I'm looking forward to getting a set of those on my bass here in the studio. So yeah, they are speaking about a band like Mastodon, where you're tuning to drop A. If you're going to be tuning like that, Skull Strings are the company to get your strings from. So big props to them, Carlos and Gwen. They do amazing work. So I'd like to just give them a shout out and thank them for all the hard work and letting us work with them and stuff. So happy days. Plus, you can also go on their website, skullstrings.com, and check out my signature strings as well as Cass's. So yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, it's all good.
Good.
Cool. So I'm going to start off by, if you guys all tuned in last week's episode, I'm pretty sure it was, you would have heard the amazing album that was given to me by Zach Moonshine, their Mexican Spanish folk metal album. Amazing record. One of the hardest games of Devil's Advocate I've had to do. So that's just proof of how good this man is as a PR man, how much of a workhorse he is. He only provides quality, and that album was literally a drop in his influential ocean of bands and albums and artists. Not exclusively, Ren and the Berserkers. Not a narcissistic name at all. Ren Merv and the Berserkers. But I digress. So this man's band is proof of how good Zach is. The band we talked about last week, how good it is. So look, everything he touches turns to gold. So why not give him a chance and see what he can do for your band or artist, for your band or albums? Go to Zach, that's ZACH, at metaldevastationradio.com, and yeah, see what can be done for you. I'm sure he won't disappoint. He never has. And as I said, he's an absolute workhorse of a man. You wouldn't want a better PR guy, at least for metal. Yep. So lastly, I'm going to talk today about my regular Gas Digital Network. So as I say every week, I am a man who loves my freedom of speech, hates my censorship, and hates technically it's called the PC era, but here at SAGAS, we're going to call it the PG era. So once again, fuck the PG era. I like things uncensored, I like things dark, and I like things fucked up and funny. And that's exactly what you get at Gas Digital Network. They have hundreds of hours, like over 50 podcasts, I'm pretty sure, shows. They all have their own unique humor to them, their own unique topics, their own unique themes. I personally love the Legion of Skanks podcast with 3 comedians, Dave, Lewis, and Jay, who just talk about nonsense for almost 2 hours straight. They always have amazing guests on, and just when you think they can't push the boundaries any further, they always do. Speaking of which, Ren, have you eaten garlic sauce lately?
Have I did what?
Eaten garlic sauce lately.
Oh yeah, I have. Yes. Yeah, well, listen, man, I
That went
tried
right
to,
past your head, didn't it?
yeah, I tried to forget what you, yeah, this is this is for the late show.
Well, either way, I thought that joke would land. So yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
they have
I told you I'm tired and sick today.
lots of funny humor, unlike what I tried to attempt. And yeah, great three guys. I just watched their latest episode today, actually. Again, always on the mark. And yeah, so if you like your comedy uncensored and unfiltered and just absolutely hilarious, go to Gas Digital Network, subscribe to them. For me here in Australia, it's only like I think $12 a month. So if you're in America or other places, it could be cheaper. I'm not sure. And yeah, there's lots of promo codes going around. Grab yourself one and pay cheaper every month. Yeah, so go do that. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. And once again, fuck the PG era. That's all I have to say.
Happy days. Well, before we go on to our lovely segment of the show, I would like to concur and agree with you fully on Zach. All the bands out there that are looking for a representation in a PR sense is mad to not go with Zach. That man has done so much for my band, and I don't even know if I ever properly thanked him. No, I have. He's an absolute legend, very professional, very thorough, and he gets his results. So, yep, all the way. And watch some funny people on that gas show. It's funny that it's called gas because that's what we call funny over here. Actually, he's a gas man. He's a funny man. But yeah, listen, sorry I ruined your joke. I don't know if everybody knows, but I've been quite ill. So my brain's not really working too well. So anyway, it's that time.
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. We're gonna get I don't know, some really cool voiceover guy to do that at some stage. We'll just press a button and he'll say it.
Well, do you want to start with me?
Okay, right. Well, seeing as it's my pick this week, I'll go for my favorite lyrical song, like I said earlier on, is not the one that I picked for my favorite all over track because musically it's amazing. It's an amazing song. Island. It's an amazing song, and it's about Norse mythology, like I said, and that's my whole bag. So if you're gonna talk about Thor and Odin in it, I'm down. It's an amazing song, Island. But my favorite song, and probably one of my favorite Mastodon songs of all time, is Hearts Alive. Hearts Alive. I mean, what a masterpiece! An absolute masterpiece. Like, it's 13 minutes and 39 seconds long. And you know what? I've been listening to this song for 18 years, and I only discovered how long it was the other day. But I know it inside out. I never paid attention to that, especially back in the day when you're listening to songs on CDs. You're walking around with your headphones on, or you're in the car, so you're not paying attention to the timestamps. And I was listening to it the other day again, and I was like, it's just, this song is just, it's just amazing. And then when I had a look at the notes here, and I realized the length, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Like, there's so much going on in this song that you can't feel that kind of length of a song. It's just mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's got this lovely slow burn at the start, with this unbelievable, like, mega dynamic. The guitar picking at the start, the proggy jazz bass and drums. It just rolls the whole song lovely together. And then obviously there's that big chunky beast. I haven't said chunk on this, but the chunky bass, chunky riff. It's a chunk fest, really. It just kicks in around. It's just like, oh my God. But Braun keeps us in suspense. There's like this riff, right? And then instead of Braun kicking it straight away as the riff kicks in, he holds it on the hat, it's like and it just builds this extra bit of suspense. And then he comes in with like crazy off time. That's another thing as well. Off time beats are, they're hard to do, and to do them in such glorious amounts, it's just like I said, it's mind boggling. But this song, I could talk about this song for days. And the way I describe a song is probably not something that somebody wants to listen to me talking about for days. But like this song, I could talk about for days. It's got this. The vocals have this like almost like a panic, like a feral type vocal in it. And there's all this lovely plucking guitar stuff that I was saying earlier with the open strings, and it's a sweetly executed song. Like it's a beast, but it's a beautiful beast. The start of the song has this very, like I say about other riffs, iconic, memorable, and then they have a very iconic, memorable piece right at the very end. It's like 49 seconds long or something. And that last 49 seconds, I think, is my favorite piece of music on this album, without a doubt, and probably of all Mastodon stuff. Like there's like a 10-minute, it's about 10 minutes into the song, which is crazy, right? It's 10 minutes into the song. There's this really cool rock and roll, kind of, it's probably the most epic rock and roll piece of music ever. So if anybody doesn't listen to anything else ever not ever, but ever for the rest of the week, if there's one thing you want to listen to this week, it's go to, track number 9 of this album, go to 10 minutes and listen to the epic rock and roll piece in that song. It's unreal stuff. Bran obviously done 13 minutes of listening to Bran playing drums. Like, it's what more do you want? And I've spoke a lot about the guitars and the drums in this, but Troy is one of those really solid bass players that you don't really get to appreciate his playing and his style as much as you would, because he's surrounded by so many absolutely incredible musicians. But his bass playing is beautiful. He has a lovely overdriven bass sound, but not it's not too much, like, it's just right. So he shined a bit on that track as well towards the end. But that's my favorite song. Now I'm gonna pull myself away from that track because I could talk about it for days. Absolutely beautiful, right? No, I was gonna say one more thing about that song. I was like, no, I'm putting away, no more. I couldn't do this bad song for it was killing me to it felt like I was you ever see that movie Almost Famous? There's one scene where they go if you're ever lonely, just go to the record store and hang out with your friends, and when you listen to a band for so long, they don't know you, but you feel like you know them, and they played a part in your life. That's the beautiful thing about rock and roll and music and bands. They in a weird way, they become part of, the fabric of you and your family. And these would be one of them bands for me. Like I've changed a lot since I started listening to these boys to where I am today, and they've been changing along with me, and it's cool, like, but the only thing I'm gonna say here is I don't like doing this, right? But I'm gonna say my least favorite track, and it's still an amazing song, and the music is beautiful on it. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because it's different from the rest of the tracks on the album, and this is Joseph Merrick. Now it's the last song, and it's right after Hearts Alive. That's the only thing, because Hearts Alive is probably one of the most incredible songs ever written by a rock heavy metal band. And Joseph Merrick, I always feel bad about the Elephant Man. So every time I listen to the song, I'm really enjoying the music. It's absolutely magical. It's got like there's, I don't know, it's just beautiful anyway. But yeah, I always like think of the poor chap, like he's dead now anyway, I think. But I think about the hard life he would have had. So that's it. Like that's it. That's me. I can't do no more.
Well,
What about you, bro?
if all the listeners are if all the listeners are keeping track, if I knew this easy to just sit back and let Ren talk about an album, we should choose his biased albums every week. I don't even have to be here. I'll just put a thumbnail on my face, and you won't know the difference. Um, it's great. Very easy episode for me. And ironically, you said so much, and the best part about it is that today on this episode we were 100% correct on both tracks. So, and you already said everything, all the points about the first track, or the best track. So there's no reason for me to even elaborate. And the last track, I felt the same reason you did. I thought track 9, Hearts Alive, I thought that was the perfect closer. You don't need a track after that. Like, this is a very weird comparison because it's two different genres, but did you happen to hear the Eminem album, Marshall Mathers LP?
Yeah, I would have heard bits of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because on that album, there's a song called Kim. It's a very dark song where he kills his wife, but it's a very dramatic song, very theatrical. And then they have like 2 more tracks after it. And I'm like, why? Why did you have 2 more tracks? You just ended it. It's the kind of thing here. It's like, that track 9 was a perfect track. And then track 10, even though, as you said, it's a beautiful track, it's like, just the fact that it's at the end, it should have been the other way around. It should have been track 9, Joseph Merrick, and then track 10, Hearts Alive. But so, yeah, we're actually, we're completely on point tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm happy with that now. Do you know what? I did have a feeling listening to this that it was gonna go that way. You know, I'm starting to understand your ears, man, for music. I feel like we deserve a prize for this. Why are we not getting a prize here? Like,
yeah, you damn listeners. It was
somebody send us a prize. Give us a prize.
This is so this is a good episode. You covered most of it for me, which is great. You know, make my job a lot easier tonight.
Sorry, man, I tried to contain myself.
Well, if that was you containing yourself, that's quite interesting. What's going to be real fun for me, though, is 2 episodes. So for the listeners, next week we're going to be covering the Pantera album, Cowboys from Hell, which, you know, we'll talk about that. Great album. And it's a dedication to the producer of the Legion of Skanks, Bobby Hutch, who, if you're a regular listener or viewer of that show, you will understand that without him, the whole show is fucked. He has to pick up so many pieces every week. Like, they're so unprofessional, and he seems like the only professional one on the thing. So without him, we'd crumble. So I thought it's only fair because he helps contain the product that I love so much to give him a special episode to himself. And even though he didn't say this album was his favorite, he said that his favorite song was off that album. So I figured, why not just do the whole album? But the reason I brought that up is the week after that, you want to cover an album, Celtic Hills, correct? Or the band. Yeah. And I already reviewed that. So it's going to be fun for me. I just take my review up and just talk about it. So it'll be fun. Easy episode.
Happy days. Listen, I'm really excited about both the episodes. I mean, I was excited about this one, but the next one is another album that I've been listening to since I was like a young child, very young man, let's say. And then my Celtic Hills are, we're signed to the same management company, and they're a band that I've followed and loved for many years. So I'm excited to chat about the speed metal kings from Italy.
Well, it was a good episode today. Yeah, great episode. Considering you're sick, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm very sick, everybody. Don't get sick. It's not good.
Yeah, he's sick. He just came out to me as a heroin addict. So let's hope it's not better than John Burnham.
Listen, man, we said we wouldn't say anything about it. I'm a rock and roll addict. That's all.
Let's hope no one no one cancels me over that John joke. It's fucking joking. But before we close, because I just have to get, I don't know why, it's my weird OCD, and I'm probably ruining the ending of this episode, but I have to get your live reaction to this, because you didn't understand the joke I said earlier.
Yeah.
So I sent you a message on Facebook. If you can check it now, and then you'll finally open up.
Oh yeah, I see it now. No, I remembered afterwards what the joke is about.
Like it's when you said, "Yeah, I eat garlic sauce," I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't remember anything."
Yeah, it's my mother listens to this podcast. So
I'm pretty sure so does mine.
Listen,
that's why I didn't say the joke.
Yeah, it's an in-house joke that you should all come across if you listen to the wonderful comics on the Gas Network. So
great joke. All right, so next week, Cowboys of Metal. No, Cowboys of Hell. And
Cowboys of Metal.
Nice name. Nice. All right, so that's this week's episode. As we say every week, same time, same place,
channel, something. Same channel, same place, same Batman version, something. I'm gonna go back to bed with a lemsip now, and hopefully feel better tomorrow. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's been good. You can finally go full back to bed.
Thank you. Listen, everybody, thanks for listening. Big shout again before I go. Big Sean OG, United Music Mafia, and Sid Ryder of Inner Demon Media /radio/records. Peace, everybody. Love and light.